being with the horses gives them a space to think about those what ifs and those identities that they've been so tied to. And they start to think, oh, I can't do that thing because I'm too old. There's a million stories that come up. So how do you say, okay, well, if you could do that thing, how would it feel? You can put them in a place, or you can help them find that place where they can start to imagine and reconnect with that curiosity that we had when we were kids.
Hi, and welcome to Don't Drink to Feed podcast. This podcast is all about you and all the courageous, driven women like you. We are here to inspire, to empower, to share, and to embrace one another. We will be talking with women from different backgrounds and careers about love, family, friendship, their wins and falls, and what it took for them to live the life they love. I am your host, Claudia Noriega-Bernstein, and I am so happy you're here today. Hi, everyone. I have today Sue Willoughby, and she's a truth teller, boundary beaker, and a certified Equine coach who helps women over 40 stop playing small and start living like they mean it. And I know there is a lot of things that I could say about you, and you have a beautiful bio, but I want my audience to get to know you at the same time I am getting to know you. And one of the things that fascinate me about what you do is the horses. I have very special relationship with horses. My husband and I own horses for many years. They were racing horses actually, but one of them got injured. And as you probably know, when a racehorse is injured, they usually put him down. And that was not going to happen under my watch. So we brought him back to Vegas. We had the horses in Santa Anita and we had him in Del Mar in San Diego. And we brought him back here. And one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, Talia, started learning to ride horses and with him. And she competed and she won some ribbons and it was great, but this was not the typical horse for competition. And after a period of time, his spirit started to change. Like, this is not what I am meant to be. I meant to run and be free and not be restrained. And we gave the horse to the trainer so he can just have it and let him run and be what he was meant to be. I love that. So I want to explore more about what you do and the nature actually of the horses and how help people. So please introduce yourself a little more, share a little more about you so my audience can learn.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I love that story about the horse wanting to express themselves and let you know that this is not what I want. I don't want to be a show horse. I don't want to be confined to an arena prancing around and winning ribbons. Not my jam. I totally get that. So I appreciate that you did the right thing and let the horse be a horse, because that's what they're really good at. They're really good at being horses.
Yeah.
And I grew up in an alcoholic family. My mother was an alcoholic, and my parents got divorced when I was fairly young, so I lived with my mom, and I loved horses from the day I was a little kid and had my first pony ride. And I would take riding lessons, and I grew up in upstate New York where it's cold and snows a lot, and I would beg my mother to take me to the riding stable. And I would just stay there all day, sometimes all weekend, and stay with the family that owned the place. And I just loved it. I didn't quite understand why it made me feel so good, but I felt safe and I felt comfortable, and I just loved everything about them. And as I grew up, horses wove themselves in and out of the fabric of my life. And it was interesting how they would come into my life at a time when I needed extra support, or when I didn't ask for it, they would just come. A friend would say, "Hey, we've got a horse for lease," or "Do you want to, whatever it was, the timing was always really right. And when I was sort of late teens, early 20s, I would go to summer camp every summer to work in the horseback riding program. And it was a camp for individuals with special needs. And I didn't realize, once again, that it was therapeutic riding, that this was actually helping them. I just was there for the horses and for the adventure and for the people. And it started to click a little bit. And then later on, after I moved to Washington State, I found a actual therapeutic riding program and I volunteered there, and I was like, I really need to get back into horses. So I studied to be an equine massage therapist first. And that was really interesting because I got to hold space for the horses rather than them holding space for us or for
Right.
helping others, right? Because having had race horses, they're big athletes,
Yeah.
whether they're working in a therapeutic riding program or whether they're running a quarter mile or whatever they're doing. They always do their best and they always compensate for us as humans. And they will do that until they can't anymore. And then they need help, they need support. So as an equine massage therapist, that's what I had the honor of doing, was working with horses. And honestly, I worked with a lot of off the track thoroughbreds after they had either weren't fast enough, did whatever, their careers were over. And I got to work with them in a different capacity. And that was beautiful. And then little by little, I wanted to be with the horses more than I wanted to do like a riding program. So I happened upon, I'm always open to the universe and what it presents to me. And it presented the idea of coaching with horses and having them as my coaching partners. And it's a really beautiful connection. And I think you alluded to that as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the quick overview of how I got here.
I find it fascinating because, as I was telling you before we start recording, I feel that horses have a quality that many other animals don't have, and even humans. I truly believe that we are domesticated, dogs are domesticated, a lot of animals can be domesticated. And yes, you can teach a horse some tricks, but the horse is gonna feel and it's gonna do what the horse feels. I know of a couple that was going through a divorce and they were recommended to go to a a retreat with horses. And the husband was able to lead the horse, but when it was the time for the wife, the horse would not move. She started getting frustrated, like trying to impose her desire to the horse. And the horse was looking at her like, you maybe can fool everybody else here, but you cannot fool me. And the horse won't move, right? And when he told me the story, I was laughing because I was like, you know what? I grew up with horses too. And I was writing, I remember when I was in, I used to do soap operas when I was very young. And we had to do a scene with a horse. And this was a racing horse. But that was the horse that they choose for the scene. Only for me to sit on top of the horse and film my boyfriend in the soap opera walking around with me sitting with the bare back, right? When we finished the scene, he thought it was cute to just pat the dog in the butt. And the horse, my goodness, to pat the horse in the back. And the horse took off with me on it. I'm holding the neck of the horse for my life and I'm bouncing. I can even tell you the bruises that I got after that. And I was trying in that moment, because survival instinct, to force him to stop, to tell him what to do, and then I got a hold of myself. And while I was still holding him, I said, please stop. But I whispered to him, please stop. And he stopped like in a cartoon. Like he stopped like that it was good thing I didn't flew over, like in a cartoon. But he stopped, waited for me to get down, and then he took off again. And I learned in that moment the connection, the energetic connection that I had with that animal in that split second when he felt my fear, but also my vulnerability. I am at your mercy. Please stop and let me get down. And when he came back, because after a while he ran for a little bit and then he came back, the producer said to me, let's just go. This has been like crazy, whatever. Everybody was very shaken. And I said, no, I want to go back to the horse. And they look at me like if I was crazy. But I knew that if I didn't overcome that fear in that moment, I was always going to be afraid of all the horses. And I needed to make peace with him. So I went back and I offered him a carrot out of my hand. And I remember the horse was looking the other way. So I just stood there and everybody was like, don't go behind the horse. He's going to kick you. She's crazy. What is she doing? And I wasn't moving. And then he turned around and very slowly came back to me and ate out of my hand and then let me caress him. And we bonded. I never saw that horse again, but that experience taught me so much, not only about the horse, but about relationships, about energy, about surrendering, about not forcing. It was such an aha moment for me. So moving forward many years after, even after we got the horse for Talia and her competing and everything else, I went through a moment in my relationship with my husband. We've been married 20 years. And as you know, marriages are not linear. They have ups and downs. And I was in a moment where I needed answers. And this opportunity was presented to me, and I went to a retreat with the horse. And I learned so much about me and how close I was and how resistant I was of accepting my vulnerability again and my own peace with myself. And it was such a beautiful retreat. I went to Arizona with Cami, which has the horses there, and she has a retreat too. And I loved it, and I do recommend it to everybody, that talks to me about this. I want you to explain to me the way the horses teach us humans about stress and boundaries and self-leadership. How that works.
It's magic. Okay, that's it. No,
The
seriously.
end.
And good night. I personally, there's a few things that I believe in. And we were talking about this prior to the recording being started. And horses, first of all, when you talked about other animals being domesticated and so forth, I believe that horses give us a lot of grace for being humans. And they are prey animals. And I think that has a lot to do with how they interact with other species and with each other, because they're also herd animals. And they communicate when they're in the herd through using all of their senses. And it's the same thing because they are prey animals, and the fact that they're 1,200 pounds or whatever they may be, they're still prey, right? If they're out in the wild, big cats, whatever, could attack them. So when they're out in a herd, they're going to communicate with each other with all of their senses and pay attention to what's going on around them every second of every minute of every day. That's what they're doing. Even when they're domesticated and they're living in a barn and they're living in a lovely pasture, it's just how they operate. So when they are in relationship with us, they're doing the same thing. And you mentioned also that they see right through the BS that we hold up in front of us.
Energy, I think.
All of our energy, because they connect with us at a very heart-centered level. So if we are not in our heart, and if our insides are not matching our outsides, the horse, because it is a prey animal, is going to be a little confused about what's really going on. And they will call you on your business, whatever that may be. And like you said, your friend there was trying to get the horse, impose her will on, I'm going to make this horse walk. And the horse is like, no, why?
No, you're not.
Why are you doing that? Why do you feel the
What are
need
you trying to show? Right.
Right. Who are you trying to impress?
Right.
So when you go to a horse with an agenda, they're like, yeah, I don't think so. And the more they're also into pressure animals. So the more you put pressure on them, the more they're going to either lean in or just resist, right? And sometimes their resistance is leaning in. Like if you're pulling on the rope and pulling on the rope, they're like, no, I'm not going to.
Right.
And then if you release the pressure, they're like, okay, that's better. You don't need to force me. This is not a competition. There's so many little things that happen when we are in relationship with a horse. And when I say that, I mean, if we are in an arena, one person and one horse, we are a herd, right? We're herd members. So they're using their ears, they're using their eyes, they're using their sense of smell. Even their skin is very sensitive. And who knows what that meant when you were on that horse on set and the guy cracked it in the butt. The horse is probably like, oh, we're
Time
off.
for me.
And we're off. And he was out too. He's like, okay, I'm trained to run. I'm going to run. So I love that you brought up a very good point about you were just terrified and you were hanging onto the horse. And once again, into pressure, right? You were putting a lot of pressure on the horse with your fear. They don't care that we're afraid. So when you dropped that fear and were able to come back into your body and you relaxed as much as you possibly could at a full gallop with your wrapped around the horse's neck, and just you were admitting to the horse, I'm afraid. I'm scared. I need to get off. Please stop. And the horse was like, all right, cool. Get off. And the horse did not throw you off. The horse did not do anything. He was just like, okay, I feel you, right? I feel you.
Right.
I feel that this is not a good connection for you. I'm scared too. Let's part ways. And I want to continue on my journey and you can get off. So a lot of that happens when, and I will see this in working with people, working with clients, that they go in and they may be very tense and they don't want the horse to know that they're afraid. And the horse is like, I can, like you said, I can see right through you.
Yeah. Some people say they see your aura, or they tell you, I remember when I was a kid and I would go on top of a horse, they'll say, if you're afraid, they can see your aura. So I was like, aura? Oh my gosh. So, but it's not really that, I mean, I don't know if they can see my aura or not, but I think they sense me. They feel my energy, and that's the way they connect with you. That's why people that compete with horses, they have that unbreakable bond with that horse. That horse is one with them.
Yeah.
Right?
And it doesn't happen overnight.
You gotta build that trust.
Exactly. Exactly. And in the old days when they would talk about breaking a horse, that's literally what they were doing. They were trying to break its spirit, trying to break the horse in a way that it just basically shut down. And it appeared to be calmer or whatever, or trained. And what it was is the horse just shut down, not going to connect with you. And it's hard when, and you see horses that are not dead inside, but sort of, right? They're just not connecting because they hold on to trauma like we do, but they don't hold on to a lot of BS like we do. So little things that happen, they don't hold on to them. They don't create stories. They will just shut down like trauma victims would if someone who has experienced heavy trauma. That's why a lot of times it's really horses that have been through a lot, like a rescue horse that has been through a lot and maybe some trauma, will connect with someone else, a human who has been through a similar, something not similar, but some other trauma. Yes, where, okay, you make me feel safe. They just connect at a heart and sync up at the heart level, and the energies match. And when I talked about doing equine massage and equine body work, I needed to create an energetic bubble, for lack of a better word, around the horse so that I could work on the horse very deeply with intention and have them feel okay with that and feel that they could trust me to communicate with them and with their bodies on such an intimate level. And that gave me a very different understanding of how to connect with horses on an energetic level, for sure.
Yeah. And when they love you unconditionally. That I know because my daughter's horse loved her unconditionally. Yeah. What are the main things or the most surprising things that you have noticed in your clients when they work with the horses? What are those aha moments that you have experienced that you go, wow, I didn't expect this?
It's funny because you just never know, right? The person may come with one agenda or an intention to set for the session and walk away with something completely different. Like whatever, let's say they come in with one intention and then they find out that it's really about that they have boundary issues. Something about their job, let's say, where they're like, I struggle at my job. I'm sick of my job. I'm burnt out at my job, or I'm whatever. And then they come in the arena with the horse, and the horse is really close to them. And at first they think, oh, this is really sweet. The horse is cuddling with me. And then the horse is getting a little more cuddly. So I asked them, how does that feel? And they said, that feels okay. And you could tell that they're a little bit like, this animal
What's going on?
my face for sure. And then the horse gets a little more pushy because they will test your boundaries. They will do whatever they think that you need just by being a horse, because they would do the same thing to another herd member that they felt was whatever. So the horse may start pushing the person around or start nibbling on their clothes or doing something else. So I ask again, how does that feel? And they said, not very good. Well, why do you say that? Well, this
Mm-hmm.
horse is totally in my space. They're pushing me around. They're really taking advantage of me. And I'm like, oh, is
That's what
that,
you're receiving.
how does that translate to what you came in here with when you were talking about your job? And they're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, that's how I feel at work. I feel like people take advantage of me. And I was like, why do you let them? Why do you allow yourself to be in that position?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, then it goes off on a whole other thing about, I don't want to hurt people's feelings. I just want to be liked. I just want to be, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, we're done here. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah, but that
seriously,
makes sense.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, just something as simple as that. And I've seen people they want the horse to move. Like they want the horse to run around the arena or do something because the horse is completely at liberty. There, no
Mm-hmm.
halter, no lead rope, no nothing. And they may want the horse to run around. So, and my horse is really funny about this. His name is Moose, by the way. They'll try to get him to move, and he just turns around and faces them again. However they move, he faces them. So he won't go away.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, I can't get him to go away. And I said, what are you doing? What are you trying? I'm trying this thing. I'm like, well, try something else. Keep trying things. Do you really want him to go away? Well, yeah, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. I don't want him. They're also afraid that he might not come back. So they may have issues around abandonment issues where if he leaves, he may never come back. And Moose is like, okay, okay, okay.
Then also you have clients that are overachievers, that are very controlling,
Mm-hmm.
that are entitled, and
Mm-hmm.
then they come to you. How do they release that control and accept what is? How a horse can teach that or show that to a person?
That's a really good question. And by being overachievers, I think people that are typically overachievers are wound a little tight, right? Like you said, they
Mhm.
want to control everything. And it may just be that they don't know how to enjoy life and how to relax and how to have fun because everything is about performance, everything is about perfection.
Mhm.
Horse doesn't care about that. The horse doesn't care about that at all. So it's a good exercise for them to, if they're doing their regimented thing and they're marching around and they're very stiff about everything, what else can you try? They're afraid of being judged, I think. And I find
Yeah.
that with people that are overachievers, they feel like they have to perform at a certain level or people are going to judge them. Oh, you're being a slacker. Oh, you're not performing it. When I think all they really want to do sometimes is just relax and have fun. We
Mhm.
get so caught up in perfection and performance and metrics and all of this stuff that we forget when we were kids that we would just run around, like you said, jump on a horse bareback, do some silly things, laugh, have a good time, fall down. Who cares what you look like?
Mhm.
Now we're so concerned with all of that. So
So
being
much.
around the horse, yeah, being around the horse creates an environment where people can experiment and they can be silly because the horse is not going to judge them. The horse is like, yeah, let's play. Let's kick up our heels. I'm happy to do
Mhm.
that. Watch me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it can bring a lot more playfulness into the session and into their lives. And maybe by the end of the session, they're laughing and they're skipping around the arena, which they would have never done when they first came in. So I
Right.
think that's a pretty good example of how horses can just, it's experiential and it's experimental at the same time, where, okay, I've got this. There's nobody here that's going to see me, nobody here from
Mhm.
work. I can be whatever I want to be. And it gives them the freedom to try something new on. And then once I feel lighter. I don't feel like I have to control every little thing in my life. Because, like you said,
Mhm.
if you try and push a horse around or push your agenda onto them, they're going to resist.
Right. You have a lot of women that are like in their 40s, right? And I am gonna be 59 in a week from now, but I remember when I was in my 40s, I didn't either call it as a midlife crisis. I think that when I was in my 40s, I had a better understanding about who I was and what I wanted to be. And there is a gap in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we need a roadmap. Sometimes you go for coaching. Sometimes you go to retreats. Sometimes you buy self-help books, whatever. How do you help those women with the horses find that purpose again, find that calling again, and not so much like you say, it's not a midlife crisis, but it's a reclamation of who they are in their soul.
Yeah, that's great. question as well. And I think that what happens is when women reach a certain age, and a lot of times it's over 40. So I work with
Mm-hmm.
women in midlife, 50, 60. I'm 66. And the thing is, when women reach a certain age, there's a lot of things that happen. Their bodies start to change. Where they are in life starts to change. They can feel insignificant or invisible. Even if they've achieved a high level of success in whatever their field is, they feel that they don't have anything else to give. Like, what's left for me now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've been a caregiver, I've been a whatever, I'm now taking care of my aging parents. They forget to take care of themselves and they just feel like they're in a place where it could be anything. They feel like they've hit a plateau in their job. Their kids are gone. Now what? Right? Whatever their identity is, they're so tied into whatever their identity is, they don't know how to get out of that. Like what would I be if I wasn't this? What would I be if
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a mom? What would I be if I wasn't a CEO? What would
Mm-hmm.
I be if? Like I said before, being with the horses gives them a space to think about those what ifs and those identities that they've been so tied to. And they start to think, oh, I can't do that thing because I'm too old or I'm too this. There's a million stories that come up. How do you say, okay, well, if you could do that thing, how would it feel? You can put them in a place or you can help them find that place where they can start to imagine and reconnect with that curiosity that we had when we
Mm-hmm.
were kids. That what if we didn't, I never even thought about what if, like, well, what if I learned to fly a plane? That'd be cool. Let's do that. I am one to try new things all the
Me
time.
too.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw your
because
picture. We both have jumped out of a plane. So yes, I'm like, this is my girl.
because why not, right? So
Right.
like why I can't or why
I
what is
think it is we are afraid to
mm-hmm.
give ourselves permission
Oh yeah.
to want more. And
Mm-hmm.
it comes not just with the person looking back at us in the mirror. It's also my husband, my kids, my
Yeah.
friend, my neighbor. What are they gonna say? What do you mean? You're gonna dye your hair? What do you mean? You're not gonna dye your hair anymore? Even in basic things like that. We care as humans so much about what the other person is going to say, think, or do once we make a decision. And at the end of the day, they don't really care. I think they care, but they don't. So much more at this time. Like I have kids, late 20s and early 30s, and I tell them, I was watching a video yesterday about 1985. And I was saying to them, I am so sad that you guys didn't get to live at that time because we didn't really care. There
Mm-hmm.
was no social media, there
Thank
was no
God.
even Polaroids to take the instant what was happening. We were so free to just
Yes.
be. There
Mm-hmm.
was no judgment, there was no labels, there were no roles that we had to fulfill to make somebody else happy. Now it's like they are on the spotlight all the time. And we that had lived in that time have adopted that. So now
Mm-hmm.
we care. We didn't care when we were in our 20s. And now that we're in our 50s and 60s, we care. Why? We shouldn't. At the end of the day, I always say we're going to all die. It's going to be the same ending for everyone. Eventually, we're
Right.
not going to be here. And 2 generations later, unless you are Einstein or you make some sort of history, nobody's going to remember if you dye your hair, didn't dye your hair, if you were gay or not gay, or you married 3 times, or you were a single person with cats. No one is going to care.
Single person with cats. That
But
makes me
it's
laugh.
true.
No,
This
right? Yeah.
generation is like, I don't want to be the last one to get married. I'm like, what? Who's keeping track?
Well, but
You're
here's the
going to
funny
get married
thing.
when you want to get married.
Here's the funny thing. I don't want to be this. I don't want to be that. But yet they post every single second of everything, every minute of every day on the internet. Ain't
Yeah.
nobody going to forget it now because it's out there. It's not going away.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's a lot of pressure. So
Oh,
it's the
God.
same
Yeah.
pressure of not being. Like
Yeah.
being is the same pressure of not being. So I love that. And I work with women as well. And I'm an inner abundance coach. So I don't care what you have. I don't care about the house, the cars, the trips, the purses.
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't make any difference to me. I care about who you are because your happiness is going to come from within.
Exactly.
It's not going to come because you got another purse or your house is 10,000 square feet bigger than the neighbors. That's not. What is going to happen is you're going to feel more lonely because that house is going to be empty and it's going to be bigger. But it's not going to fulfill you unless you start doing things that truly make you happy. And when we find that juicy, yummy part of us, we find so many answers
Mm,
that we
yeah,
didn't know we needed. And
exactly.
that's what I love what you do with women that are going through that because I get the same high when I see them in that aha moment and they realize,
Yeah.
wow, I had this all along.
Yeah. Just
And
like
I was
Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz. I had the
exactly
power all along to click my
all
heels
along.
and be home. It's so true though. And that's the beauty of it. Like you said, I don't care. The horse does not know or care what kind of car you arrived in,
Hmm.
how much your boots cost, whatever you spent to get your hair done, all of that stuff. The horse doesn't know, doesn't care, and
Hmm.
is not going to judge you about anything. So when you're standing in front of something that is directly and deeply connected with you, especially if it's
Hmm.
1,200 pounds, you're going to feel that non judgment, just like you feel the judgment. So when you don't feel judged and you feel accepted, like you
Hmm.
said, you get out of your head, you get back into your body, and you're like, okay, I'm home. This feels good to me. I need to get more of this, right? And I'm sure
Hmm.
you see that with your clients. I understand now that I don't need to impress anyone. The only person that matters is me.
Hmm. Yeah.
And that's not selfish. And I think that's the other thing that women struggle with. It's
Yeah.
selfish. No, it's not.
You said that in the bio that you sent me, it said living beyond the comfort zone and building a life that feels as good as it looks like. And
Mm-hmm.
that was so profound to me when I read it because yeah, it looks great on film and on
Right.
pictures, right? But is it great? Are you happy? Do you wake up in the morning and you really feel gratitude? Do you
Yeah.
really feel you are blessed? Or are
Mm-hmm.
you looking for the next thing that is going to fulfill whatever it is that you feel
Yeah.
you have a void?
Yeah. And like you said, you can buy all the cars in the world, all the purses in the world, all the
Hmm.
jewelry, all the whatever. And it's just stuff. And if all that stuff disappeared tomorrow, how would you feel?
Exactly, exactly.
You know?
It's sad to me sometimes when I see that because I don't know, I think I have this quality since I was a kid. I see people for who they are. I'm a very energetic person, energy person kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like I will go to a room and I will feel and I said this many times. I will tell my husband, I'm gonna wait for you outside.
Same here.
Like this is not my jam. And
Hmm.
he'll go, but we're gonna be here 5 minutes. I'm like, that's too long for me. I'm gonna be there outside. You go inside, give your check or say hello or happy birthday, whatever you wanna say here. This is not my people. And so when I see also people that are so beautiful inside, but they don't see it and they camouflage that energy because they feel they have to show up certain way, it
Hmm.
saddens me because I'm like, you are so much more than what you want to show up for. Why you can get curious and start looking within and find your true value, your true essence, and not what you think or you believe the world wants you to be. I actually have a retreat that is called The Art of Unbecoming.
Yeah.
And I help women really notice those parts of themselves that has been conditioned to be certain way. And they really don't match them. They don't belong to them. And once they identify those roles and those labels and they agree, because you have to agree to let them
Hmm.
go, they are so much happier. But you
Hmm.
have to get curious and you need to want to do it, like with the
Yes.
horses. You need to want to go to that retreat and need to want to be vulnerable and need to want to be open to receive what the horse is trying to teach you.
And what you're trying to teach yourself, because the horse, it's funny because the horse is just being a horse, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
And by just being themselves and how they are and how they exist in the world, we see that it's possible. We
Right.
feel that it's possible. And I think it's difficult, like you said, for people to put themselves in that position. You have to want to do it because it does make you very vulnerable to peel away that layer or layers in most cases. There's more than one, but it doesn't have to be all at once. You're not going to come away from one session or two sessions or a weekend retreat completely changed. But
Yeah.
what you will come away with is a new understanding of how things can be, of the possibilities, and of the, like you said, the awareness. Building the awareness is key. And then being curious about that. Once you become aware, you start to be curious. Once you start to be curious, you're like, oh, I could, that thing, it could be possible,
Right.
right? Because it builds. So awareness, curiosity, and it's cyclical because that's how we grow. And when you stop being curious and when you stop being aware of what's really going on, you flatline.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's it. You had a super interesting life and you have done a lot of things in your life, and I love that. And I'm sure you're surprised at your life as it is now. So if you could go back to that little girl that grew up in that, in a way, dysfunctional
Oh, yeah.
family,
Yes.
what would you tell that little girl?
Well, I'd probably tell her a couple of things. First of all, now that I'm 66, I'd say, even though you're going to try do crazy things, be kinder to your body because
Mm.
it will eventually start to give out on you. It's going to reach a point where you're going to be like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz, right? Things are going to get creaky. So that's one thing I would say. Be kinder to your body when you're doing demolition derbies and roller derby and all of these kinds of things. The second thing I would say is trust in yourself and believe in your worth. You may not think always that you are worthy or that you are good enough, but you're better than good enough. And you are worthy of all of the good things that are going to come to you. You just need to accept them and not push them away. So I think that's probably what I would say.
I love that. Thank you. Where can my audience find you if they're
Yeah.
interested in learning more about your coaching and the horses and everything that you do?
My website is a great place to start, willoughbycoaching.com. I also have my own podcast called Midlife Strategies for Badass Women, and I'm more inclined to be on Instagram than anything else, and that would be Sue_Willoughby on Instagram.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for being here. I love your stories. I love your message, and I will make sure that I have all your links in the description of the show. And to everyone, don't forget to sign in for my newsletter. I have it every week with the show of the week, and we have a lot of insights and things that we don't talk in the show. So get curious and sign up for that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you all for listening to the Don't Shrink to Fit podcast. If you like this episode, please write a juicy comment below and subscribe to my podcast. Remember, we can only fly if we embrace each other. Until next week, be happy, be safe, and be kind to yourself.